Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word. Derek, yesterday we were talking about love.
Right.
And we zeroed in on, briefly at least, on the two major words for love in the New Testament. The first one we mentioned was kind of affectionate love. I guess everybody understands that, loving your brother and things like that. But the second one we looked at was devoted love.
Right.
And, what in our lives would help us understand that?
Well, to help us understand the devoted love that God has shown towards us, I think we want to turn to Ephesians chapter 5. As we look there in this passage in Ephesians 5, starting down around verse 25, we see how Christ loved us and how he gives an example to husbands how they are to love. And he says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, he says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." Here Christ, he came to earth, he lived that perfect life, and he died for the church. He died for those that would come to believe in him, to follow him, and to do what he said. And we see that that's the same kind of love that husbands are to have for their wife, that sacrificial, that kind of love that is, that's from God, that is godly. What else would you say about this passage here in Ephesians chapter 5?
What you struck me with, and you said that, because we were trying to figure out, and you were helping me understand this idea of devoted love. I mean, a love devoted enough it'll die for somebody?
That's right.
That's really a great example. What else do you see here?
Well, when I look at this love, I want to go back to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22. Because it says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself Savior." Okay, so I want us to look at this, and I want us to go back. I want us to go down and look into verse 28 and following. He says, "In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church." We see here that husbands and wives are to love each other. They're to respect each other. That they're to have that kind of relationship that's with each other, that as Christ, as he loved the church, as he gave himself up for her. Yes, the husband is supposed to be the head of his family, but he's supposed to love his wife as his own body, as himself, and he's supposed to even be willing to lay down his life for her. But to have this kind of sacrificial love where he's taking care of her as his own body, that's what Christ does for us. He takes care of us. He cherishes us. He nourishes us. He gives us exactly what we need. And in a loving and faithful relationship, that is the way that a husband and a wife will live, and that's the way they will serve God together.
Wow.
And those are just some thoughts that I had today, and I hope that that's something that we can learn from this together.
Wow, I think that's a great example for us to use to think about that relationship. That means, doesn't it really, that I'm not going to ask my wife to do something that I wouldn't do.
That's right.
Wow, that's really good.
That's right. And I think that we all should strive every day to look at Christ first. Look at him. Look at how he loved us, and then put the way he loved us into practice into our life. And so for the husbands out there, I would say, take a look at how you're loving your wife. For the wives, I would say do the same for your husbands, and see how you're loving and how you're respecting it, and how your relationship together is growing. And that's what we want to happen.
Yeah.
We want our love for God to continue to grow, to our love for each other to continue to grow, so that one day when this life is over, we will be called faithful and be able to together enter into the heaven. And that's what it's all about.
That's great. That's great. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the study today. Be sure to come back again. We're going to do some more 5 minutes in the Word. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.